Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the show where we exclusively answer questions for people called Matt. If you're called Matt, this show is perfect for you. Make sure you do one of these two things to get on soon.
Okay, it's not, but you can leave a question regardless of your name. So just call 013-808-00035. If your name is Matt, you can press option 2, which will fast track you to the front of the line. Or you can go to thepropertyhub.net/ask. However you do it, just do it and we'll get your question answered. Even if you're being a bit cheeky and it's your third time round. It's the return of the Matt. Here he is.
Hi Rob, it's Matt calling from Birmingham. Thank you for answering my previous two questions. I really appreciate it. I love all the work that you guys put out. You do a fantastic job. Just another one. My last question was about renovations. I know in a few of the episodes recently you've been talking about builds from scratch, sourcing land, etc. And I know that Rob's been doing this with RMP Property. So I was just wondering if he could perhaps cover off some points around financing a build. Obviously, they do specialist mortgages and things like that. But I was wondering if you could go into probably a little more detail of how you guys have gone about financing a build or what alternative financing sources there are, really for somebody that's new to building from scratch. Cheers, guys. Appreciate all you do. You do a fantastic job.
Well done, Matt, on your hat trick of questions. The medal is in the post. Well, it's not. We're paperless, but the virtual medal is on its way to you. Great question, and thank you for asking. So when looking for finance on a build, you're not going to use your normal mortgage broker. You want to go to a broker who specialises in this type of finance. And there are plenty of them. Quick Google search will do it. Asking for recommendations is always better. If you get along to a meetup or jump in the Property Hub forum, asking around, there's going to be plenty of people out there who do this type of thing. Now, that broker will then go out to more specialist lenders. They're not going to go to NatWest or Abbey for your mortgage, for example. They're more likely to go to more specialist bespoke lenders because there's a lot more risk and there's a lot more to this. So that's generally the approach. But there's a few things to take on board here because you said you're in this for the first time. And getting finance first time round is extremely difficult. And the rates you're going to pay are going to vary. And it's going to depend on a lot of things. The amount you want to put in yourself, the amount you're going to put in yourself, but also a big one, the experience you have. And your lack of experience will mean that it'll be difficult, although not impossible, to get lending on your first development. And what you need to do, if you can, is demonstrate some sort of track record. So that might be hard to do if you've got no personal experience. So it may be, like I did, is bring in an expert or experts to work with you, and the lenders will then base it on them. Not solely, they will still look at the company and look at that they haven't done any builds whatsoever, but they will give you a little bit of a boost because you've got a more experienced team. Now, once you've done a few developments and you've completed on a few, the rates available to you will improve, absolutely. And if you're willing to put money down still further on, because you can leverage higher the more experience you've got, but if you're still willing to put money down, eventually you could probably get into the high streets and the high streets will lend to you. But they want to look at normally, and there's obviously exceptions to this rule, but normally what I've learned is they want sites that are multi-million pound sites. They want you to put a lot of money down. They want you to have a fabulous track record. But if you can tick all those boxes, and that's something to aspire to, if you can tick all those boxes, then you can get very favourable rates. But unfortunately, a lot of people want those rates from the beginning, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, what Rob said is spot on. Really, it's not that different from the situation that you're in when you're trying to get your first property. If you don't have any experience, it's going to be hard for you to get a mortgage for something like an HMO or something more complex. And you're going to have a lot of lenders who just won't lend to you at all until you've got that experience. With developments, it's exactly that same scenario, but a lot more complicated. So having a good broker, as Rob said, is really critical for this. And as Rob also said, the team around you can make a real difference. Some lenders will just look at you and go, oh, you personally have no experience, not interested. But other lenders will take a bit more time to look at it. And if you've got a project manager or a building team who are highly experienced, if you've got something called a JCT contract in place, which is something that lenders like to see, basically meaning that the whole thing is costed out, there's a proper agreement in place, and it's not just someone who's going to sort of breeze in once a week and take a look round and that's it, and not really have any commitment to the project, that helps as well. But it is challenging. So you might have your eye on one of those multi-million pound sites and building hundreds of apartments. But even with a good broker, you might need to start smaller and build up that track record. But Matt, it's good that you're thinking about this kind of thing and stretching yourself and moving on, because that's how we all learn. Nobody really starts by going out and doing huge developments to start with, but you just work your way up. And by stretching your comfort zone and doing a little bit more each time, that's how you move on to the big stuff.
You certainly do. Right, next up, of course, you've guessed it, we've got Matt. But this time from London.
Hey, Rob and Rob. This is Matt from London. Thanks for everything that you do on the podcast and the community. Absolutely love the programs that you put out. I've got a question regarding repayment mortgages as investors. I've heard of a chap that his strategy is to buy places that are high yielding and then put them on capital repayment mortgages so that in 15 years' time, basically they become unencumbered. He's doing this in the UK and also starting to do it in Florida in the US, so that when he comes into retirement, none of his properties will have any form of mortgage against them. So all of that lovely rent that is coming in, that has obviously gone up with over the years as well, means that he's got a lovely large pension pot coming in. However, my question is, what's the tax situation regarding that? I would have thought that as a repayment mortgage, he's going to have a whacking great big income tax bill every year between now and over the next 15 years. I was wondering if you've heard of that strategy and what your thoughts are. Okay, thanks very much, and hope to hear my question and listen to some more amazing episodes from you. All right, thanks. Bye.
All right, thank you, Matt. So repayment mortgages, less common for investors to be using these. Most investors use interest-only mortgages because it means that you have higher cash flow month to month. And even though you're not on a schedule to have everything paid off over the long term with capital growth, you anticipate that you're going to be able to pay those mortgages off. And at the moment in particular, you can take advantage of the cheap money out there. But using repayment mortgages is a perfectly valid thing to do. I've come across people doing this before. If you really want to be mortgage free in retirement and you've got no need for cash in the meantime, then being on a repayment and overpaying wherever you can makes sense. It's not the most efficient strategy necessarily, but if it gives you certainty of getting to where you want to be, then that's an absolutely perfectly fine thing to do. From the tax perspective, there's no reason why being on a repayment mortgage should give rise to a larger tax bill, because it doesn't make any difference to the amount of income that you've got. So your tax bill would be just the same as it always would be, but you'd have less cash flow to pay that tax bill out of. So normally you'd have your rent, you'd deduct all your expenses, you used to have deducted your mortgage interest, now you'll get an allowance and it's all very complicated, and that will be it. And whatever's left over after tax is yours. With a repayment mortgage, you've got an extra cost in there. You've got a little chunk of that capital that you're paying off every month. So that will reduce your cash flow by however much it is. So the tax bill is just the same, but your cash flow will be lower. And as I said, for many people, that's not going to work. They're looking to build up income now so they can quit their job or have more flexibility or reinvest or do whatever. But for some people, that's perfectly fine. So while tax does tend to trip you up at every turn, whatever you're trying to do, in this one instance, tax isn't really a consideration.
And isn't that a relief? Because it's such a big part of our lives now, tax for property investors. What's also probably a relief to you all is the ease that we allow these questions to come in. So make sure you get to thepropertyhub.net/ask. And you know what? We're going to open this up. You don't have to be called Matt. New format. Sorry. You can be called any name you like, and you can ask a question. So Rob's, Mandy's, Tim's, Tanya's, go crazy, get your questions in, go to thepropertyhub.net/ask, and you can be part of the show now too.
So we're nothing if not inclusive. Oh, actually we are. We're inclusive and prolific because we've got the Property Podcast coming up on Thursday, as always. So whatever your name is, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.